chapter 5. I've gone through chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're in chapter 5. And I want to invite all of us to respect the sacred. Respect the sacred. And so for that, we're going to focus on a couple of verses very quickly. I draw your attention to verse 3. As we read in verse 3, it says, "So they brought in the vessels of gold and silver that had been taken out of the temple, the house of God in Jerusalem." Now jump to verse 4. It continues like this: "They drank the wine and praised the gods of gold and silver, bronze, iron, wood, and stone." The king Belshazzar and his wives and his lords and concubines took these sacred articles that were used for the worship of the Most High God in the temple in Jerusalem. They not only desecrate them by drinking out of them out of context, but they also use them to worship their own false gods. Not only do they worship false gods, but they desecrate them by worshiping the gods who are made out of the same material that these utensils are made out of, that are used to worship the one and true God. And because they disrespect the sacred, because they desecrate that which was set apart, a hand comes down and writes down the sentence that is pronounced against the king and his entire court. So this is where I say respect the sacred. When I talk about the sacred, I think specifically about the church, the sanctuary, and the many things that I now see happening in our sanctuaries, the things that are said in sanctuaries. Respect the sacred. If God was willing to pronounce judgment on the king for desecrating the utensils that used to be in the sanctuary, how much more the sanctuary itself? Let me tell you a story in case you don't believe. Growing up, I had a number of friends in fact, that we were playing one day and we ran into the church as part of what we were doing. And as we ran into the church, our friend walked in behind us. He was after us, and then we had already left through the side door by the time he came in. And as he sat down, he got angry and said a cuss word, and immediately he got slapped. And when he got slapped, he turned around to see which one of us slapped him, and he noticed that there was nobody sitting around him. And so he came out and told us the story of what happened, and we immediately understood that God was not happy with what he has done in God's house, that God was upset with what had just happened in the sanctuary. And so I tell this story to remind us that though we think a sanctuary another building as all others, there is something that happens when we invite God to dwell in a given building and make it into a sanctuary, that it is now sacred, meaning it is now set apart for God, and we ought to show respect for that. There are certain things that we would never do in front of our parents, yet we think it's okay to do them before God. There are certain clothes that we would never wear to go visit the president, yet we think it's okay to wear them when we come to see God. Yes, God is everywhere, but the sanctuary is God's house. But I'm not just talking about the sanctuary, I'm talking about the sacred. There are consequences when we disrespect the sacred. I invite us to think about this as we look forward to chapter 6. For now, just come on, let us get on the way.